Okay, I want you to picture this. You're walking down a hallway at work.
Hmm.
You're feeling pretty good. Maybe you've just had a coffee. Things are fine. And then your boss walks past you. You smile. You're ready to say good morning, and they just grimace, a quick, tight frown, and they keep on walking.
Oh, I know this moment, that stomach drop feeling. Yeah.
Exactly, the stomach drop. And suddenly, that coffee doesn't taste so good anymore. And by the time you get back to your desk, you are not thinking about your work. You're thinking, okay, what did I do? Was it that email yesterday? Did I mess up the formatting?
Oh, yeah, you're spiraling.
Totally. They're definitely going to fire me. I should probably start updating my LinkedIn profile right now.
And you've gone from good morning to unemployment in, what, 30 seconds?
Right. And the wildest part is the boss might have just had a headache or, they really need to use the bathroom.
Yeah.
But in our heads, the catastrophe feels completely real. So today we're going to unpack why our brains do this. Why do we have this inner narrator that seems hell-bent on sabotaging our peace?
It's the inner heckler.
The inner heckler. We are doing a deep dive into cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, based on a really comprehensive presentation by Doc Snipes. And before you tune out thinking, oh, I don't need therapy, I'm fine, this isn't just about clinical diagnosis. This is a toolkit for what they call the learner.
Right.
It's for anyone who wants to understand the machinery of their own happiness.
That's the key. This is about mechanics. If you understand how the machine works, you can, stop it from overheating. We're going to look at thinking errors. We're going to dissect the schemas that run our lives. And we'll even get into some surprisingly practical games, like a literal coin flip that can hack your mood.
So buckle up. We're going to try and tame the noise in your head.
Yeah.
And to do that, we have to start at a place that I think gives almost everyone a little bit of anxiety. The Atlanta airport.
It is the perfect setting for this. Yeah, Doc Snipes uses the Atlanta airport to explain this whole concept of perception versus reality.
Okay, set the scene.
Yeah.
Because I've been there, and it is absolute chaos.
Right. It is chaos. So imagine you're walking into the terminal. It's peak travel time. There are thousands of people, announcements blaring over the intercom, carts whizzing by, the smell of pretzels and jet fuel. It's a total sensory overload. Now you, as a competent adult, how do you react to that?
I mean, it's annoying. I'm definitely scanning for the departure board. My heart rate might go up a little bit because I don't want to miss my flight. But generally, I'm focused. I'm thinking, okay, busy day, but I got this.
Right. You have the tools. You can read the signs. You know how airports work. Now rewind the tape. Imagine you are a small child walking into that exact same airport. Same noise, same crowds, same smells. But to you, these aren't just travelers, they're giants.
Oh, wow. Yeah, from down there, everyone looks like a threat.
You can't read the signs, they're 20 feet in the air, the noise isn't just loud, it's overwhelming, it's unintelligible. You have no idea where you're going or why.
That shifts the experience from annoying to, well, terrifying.
Completely.
Yeah.
And your physiological reaction is different. You aren't just alert, you're in fight or flight mode. You're gripping your parent's hand, terrified of being abandoned in this sea of giants. Now, here's the kicker, and this is the foundation of CBT. The situation, the airport, is identical. The reality is the same. The only thing that's different is the perception.
So reality isn't what's happening to us. It's how we're processing it.
The source material throws out a number here that it stops people in their tracks. Reality is about 10% what actually happens and 90% how we interpret it.
Wait, hold on. 90%? That seems incredibly high. That's a massive margin for error. You're saying almost everything I feel is just my own, editorializing.
In a way, yeah. Think back to the boss grimacing. The grimace, that physical tightening of facial muscles, that was the 10%. That was the event. The 90%, the I'm getting fired, the anxiety, the cortisol flooding your system, that was all your interpretation.
That is somewhat terrifying, but also weirdly empowering.
Yeah.
Because if I'm the one doing the interpreting, maybe I can change the interpretation.
That is exactly right. But it's hard because when you're in the thick of it, your brain is screaming that the danger is real. So Doc Snipes suggests a model to check yourself. It's called head, heart, and gut honesty.
I like a good framework. Let's unpack this. Head honesty. I'm guessing that's the logic center.
That's your inner Spock. Head honesty asks, does this make logical sense? Is there admissible evidence in a court of law that I'm getting fired? And usually the answer is no.
Okay. And gut honesty.
That's your instinct, the spidey sense. Sometimes you walk down a dark alley and the hair on your neck stands up. That's valid data. Evolution gave us that for a reason. You shouldn't ignore it.
But then there's the heart. And I feel like this is where we get into trouble.
The heart is the tricky one. This isn't just about emotions. This is where your core beliefs live. And this is the filter that can distort the other two. If your core belief, your heart says, I'm ineffective, or the world is a hostile place, or maybe people always leave me, then your head and gut get overruled.
So even if your head says it's just an airport, your heart is screaming, no, it's a landscape of giants and I am small.
Precisely. You will scan the environment for evidence that supports your heart's belief. You'll ignore all the smiling people and just see the frowning ones.
Because you're trying to prove yourself right, even if being right makes you miserable.
Exactly. And this brings us to the hamster.
Yes, I was hoping we'd get to the hamster. This is such a vivid image. How does a rodent explain my anxiety?
It's a perfect metaphor for what psychologists call schemas, our blueprints for how the world works. Imagine a hamster in a cage. You, the human, you love this hamster. You just want to cuddle it. You're bringing it a little treat. You reach your hand in. What does the hamster do?
It freaks out. It runs under that little plastic igloo and hides in the sawdust.
Right. To the hamster, you are a predator. You are a giant claw coming to snatch it. It doesn't matter that your intention is love. It doesn't matter that you have a treat. The hamster's schema, its worldview, is that big moving things are dangerous. It cannot process cuddle. It only knows attack.
And we are the hamsters.
In a way, yeah. If you grew up in a chaotic environment, or if you've been burned badly in relationships, you might have developed a schema that says, people will eventually hurt me. So when a new friend tries to get close, or a boss offers constructive feedback, that's the hand reaching in with a treat.
But all we see is the claw.
We see the claw, we interpret the support as a threat. We hide under the igloo.
That's actually tragic when you put it like that. You're pushing away the good stuff because you're wired to see a hawk.
And the worst part is, it's not just a passive filter. We have an active participant in our heads reinforcing the sphere. That's that inner heckler we mentioned at the top.
The heckler in the gallery.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like I know this guy personally. He's the one who pipes up right before I have to speak in public.
We all have one. And it's those automatic tapes. The voice that says, you're not smart enough for this, or they're all laughing at you. What's fascinating is where these come from. They're not usually our original thoughts. They're leftovers.
Leftovers. Like mental Tupperware.
Sort of, yeah. They're leftovers from parents, teachers, high school bullies, maybe a random comment on social media from 3 years ago. We internalize them. We adopt them as our own voice. And a lot of the time, they operate in the background. You might feel a sudden drop in confidence and not even realize it's because a tape just played in your subconscious.
So we have the hamster response,
Yeah.
which is instinct-driven by the heckler commentary. But I want to pivot to the hardware for a second, because the source brings up this acronym, HALT, which implies that sometimes this isn't deep psychological trauma, sometimes it's just biology.
Yes. This is crucial for the learner. You can analyze your childhood all day, but sometimes the heckler is just loud because you're hungry.
Or tired.
Right. HLT stands for hungry, angry, lonely, tired. Doc Snipes really emphasizes that our physical state dictates which hecklers we hear. If you're sleep-deprived or in pain or even just hungover, your rational filter dissolves.
The filter that usually tells the heckler to shut up.
Exactly that. Think about your prefrontal cortex, the logical part of your brain, as a muscle. When you're exhausted, that muscle is weak. You can't lift the heavy weights of logic, so the emotional brain just takes over. You interpret things more negatively. It's like being that small child in the airport again. You literally don't have the energy to process the giants rationally.
That really hits home.
Yeah.
I know when I'm hangry, the world is a much darker place. It feels like this huge existential crisis, but really, I just need a sandwich.
And that's a biological reality. Your body doesn't have the resources to maintain a positive outlook. So before you go analyzing your childhood schemas, maybe, eat a snack and take a nap.
That is the most practical advice I have heard all week.
Yeah.
But let's say we've eaten, we've slept, and the negative thoughts are still there. Usually people call these irrational thoughts, but the source material suggests we should stop using that word. Why? Irrational seems pretty accurate for a hamster fear.
It does, but think about how you feel when someone calls you irrational.
Defensive. Yeah, immediately defensive. It feels dismissive.
Exactly. It sounds judgmental. It sounds like you're broken. The shift here, and it's a really powerful pivot in modern CBT, is moving from rational versus irrational to helpful versus unhelpful.
Oh, I like that. It's pragmatic. It's not about truth. It's about utility.
It just removes the shame. And here's the thing. Most of those so-called irrational beliefs made perfect sense when they were formed.
When was that?
Usually in childhood. Doc Snipes points out that children are egocentric and dichotomous.
Dichotomous meaning black and white.
All or nothing. Think about a 5-year-old. If mommy is mad, the 5-year-old thinks, it must be my fault, I am bad. They don't have the nuance to understand that mommy had a bad day at work. They only see, mommy is yelling, I caused it. That's a rational conclusion for a 5-year-old brain with limited data.
But the problem is when the 35-year-old brain is still running that 5-year-old software.
Exactly. The belief, if someone is angry, I am in danger, protected you when you were small. It kept you alert. Now it's just unhelpful. So instead of beating yourself up for being irrational, you just ask a simple question. Is this thought moving me toward a happy, healthy, values-driven life?
That's such a better metric. Is this helpful? It cuts right through the noise.
It really does.
Okay, let's get specific. The source lists a whole gallery of these thinking errors, these mental shortcuts that trip us up. I want to run through a few because I think just recognizing them is half the battle. The first one that jumped out at me was all or nothing thinking. And the example given was 17 cats.
Yes, the 17 cats. This is the catastrophic spiral. The thought process goes, if I'm not in a relationship right now, I will be alone forever and I'm going to die with 17 cats.
It escalates so fast from I'm single on a Friday to I am a hoarder.
It ignores the gray area. But life happens in the gray area. This error tells you that if you're not perfect, you're a failure. If you're not loved by everyone, you are unlovable. It's a trap because it sets a standard that is impossible to meet.
Okay, then there's personalization. This brings us right back to the grimacing boss.
Right. We assume everything is a subplot in the movie about us. Your boss walks by, grimaces, and keeps walking. You think, I'm doomed.
Yeah.
The reality, he probably just sat through a 5-hour meeting and really, really needs to use the bathroom.
We really are pretty egocentric, aren't we?
We are, and checking that egocentrism is a huge part of CBT. Another big one is the availability heuristic.
This is the plane crash one.
Yes. People are terrified of flying because when a plane crashes, it is headline news. It is available in your memory. You don't see headlines for the 20,000 flights that landed safely today. So you judge danger based on what's dramatic, not on what's statistically true.
It's like our brains are just terrible statisticians.
We are awful statisticians. We prioritize emotional impact over data, which leads directly to emotional reasoning.
I feel scared, therefore I am in danger.
Exactly. Or, I feel stupid, therefore I am stupid. The expert voice here, Doc Snipes, reminds us. Feelings are real, but they are not facts. You feel terrified in a completely safe situation. The feeling is valid. The conclusion is wrong.
So we've identified the hecklers, the hamster, and the errors. Now I want the tools. Because knowing you have a problem is one thing, but fixing it is another. The source material focused heavily on energy management.
Yes. Think of your energy like a battery on your phone. Anxiety burns that fuel like an app that's just running in the background constantly.
There was a story about a daughter and some donkeys.
Yes. So the speaker's daughter spent an entire day worrying about a vet visit for her donkeys, just stressing, pacing, ruminating. By the time the evening came around, she was supposed to go to martial arts class, which is something she loves, but she was just too exhausted to go.
She spent all her fuel on the worry.
And nothing bad even happened. The vet visit was totally fine. The lesson is we have to ask ourselves, is this worry a good use of my limited energy? It's an economic question, really.
That connects to the road rage test.
Oh, this one hits home for a lot of people. Did you know 80% of drivers report having road rage?
80%.
Yeah.
That actually explains my morning commute perfectly.
It does. But here's the breakdown. Someone cuss you off. You scream. You pound the steering wheel. Your blood pressure spikes. The question is, did screaming at a car with its windows rolled up actually change the situation?
No. The other driver probably didn't even hear you.
Exactly. It didn't change reality. It just ruined your mood. It burned your energy. It was unhelpful.
So if we catch ourselves doing that burning energy on road rage or donkey worry, how do we pivot? Because just telling myself to calm down never, ever works.
No, you need a pattern interrupt. And this is where the coin flip comes in.
I looked at this in the notes and I thought, this sounds too simple, but walk us through it.
It challenges the idea that we have to feel happy before we can act happy. So here's the game. You wake up in the morning, you flip a coin. If it's tails, you just go about your day as your normal, maybe slightly grumpy self. But if it's heads, you have to be a Pollyanna.
A Pollyanna?
Yeah.
Like aggressively optimistic.
Aggressively optimistic. For the entire day, you have to smile, walk with your head up, look for the silver lining in everything. If it rains, you say, great, my car's getting washed for free. If you spill coffee, hey, I needed a reason to buy a new shirt.
That sounds exhausting. And also, isn't that just lying to yourself? Can you really trick your brain by faking it?
It feels like faking it at first, but there's real science here called the facial feedback hypothesis. Your behavior influences your emotions just as much as your emotions influence your behavior.
Wait, so just the physical act of smiling sends a signal to your brain?
Yes. If you force your body to act like a happy, confident person, shoulders back, smiling, your brain eventually gets the memo. It says, oh, we're smiling. I guess we must be happy. It proves that you don't have to wait for the feeling to arrive. You can summon it with your behavior.
That is a total power move.
Yeah.
You're literally hacking your own operating system.
It is. And it breaks that all or nothing cycle. It shows you that you have control over your state, even if it's just for a day.
There's one last tool I want to touch on before we wrap up, and it's a bit more technical, but I think it's the most important for long-term change. Attributional shifts.
This is all about the language we use to explain our failures. People who struggle with depression or low self-esteem, they tend to make attributions that are global, stable, and internal.
Okay, let's break that down with an example. Let's say I fail a math test.
Okay. The depressive attribution would be, I am stupid.
Right. Let's parse that. Why is I am stupid global?
Because stupid applies to everything. If you're stupid at math, the implication is you're probably stupid at life. It just covers your whole existence.
Yeah, and stable.
Stable means it's never going to change. You are stupid. It's a permanent trait, not a momentary lapse.
And internal.
It's your fault. It's who you are. It's not the test. It's not the teacher. It is you.
Oof, that is a heavy sentence. I am stupid. There's no way out of that box.
It leaves no room for hope. The shift we want to make is to be specific, changeable, and skill-based. So instead of I am stupid, how would we reframe failing that math test?
Maybe. I didn't study enough for this specific test.
Perfect. Or even, I am bad at math right now.
That feels completely different.
Right. Math is specific. It's not your whole life. Right now implies it can change. And didn't study is about a skill or an action, not your soul.
I am bad at math right now. I can fix that. I can study. I can get a tutor. I am stupid is a life sentence.
Exactly. Words matter. The way we talk to ourselves creates the reality we live in. If you can shift your language, you shift your entire mindset.
So what does this all mean? We've covered a lot of ground today. We've got the Atlanta airport, the hamster, the heckler, the coin flip.
I think the big takeaway is agency. We have these old tapes playing the hecklers. We have these hamster instincts that try to keep us safe by scaring us, but we are not slaves to them. We can pause. We can use that head, heart, gut check. We can ask, is this helpful?
We don't have to believe everything we think.
That is the bumper sticker for this entire deep dive. Just because you think it doesn't mean it's true. Thoughts are just data. You get to decide which data points you act on.
I love that.
Yeah.
And look, if you're listening to this and realizing you've been holding on to some serious, unhelpful beliefs, maybe about yourself or about the world, it's not about beating yourself up. It's just an opportunity to edit the script.
It is. And I want to leave the listener with a provocative thought, something Doc Snipes hints at that really struck me. If you find yourself resisting this, if you're holding on to a belief that makes you miserable, let's say, I have to be perfect to be loved, and you refuse to let it go, you have to ask yourself a hard question.
What's the question?
What is the payoff?
Whoa, what is the payoff?
Why is that belief so important to you that you keep it, despite the harm it causes? Usually there's some kind of hidden benefit.
Like safety.
Exactly. If I believe I'm doomed to fail, then I don't have to try. And if I don't try, I can't be rejected. The misery is actually a shield.
So we choose the misery because it feels safer than the risk of hope.
Sometimes. And realizing that seeing the payoff is the first step to finally putting the shield down.
That is a huge thought to chew on. Why are we keeping the beliefs that hurt us?
It's the ultimate question.
Well, while you mull that over, try the coin flip tomorrow. See if you can force a little optimism and see what happens to your brain.
Heads, you're Pollyanna. Tails, you're yourself. Let us know how it goes.
Thanks for diving in with us. We'll see you next time.